Let's move on to the morning of July 3rd. It's another day with some poor weather to contend with, but they do manage to get some sorties up. But before I dig into this day, I want to stop here and have a quick look at one of the most interesting sets of overhead photography I have yet to run across. I found it, in fact, looking for this location with some tanks moving through some woods. I wanted to see the road layout as it stood at the time. This would have been taken about a month from this date on the 8th of August, and I just happened to start looking at some other photos in the area and found myself looking at an example of the use of strategic bombers in a tactical role. We're going to see on the 8th of August a drive to the south by British and Canadian forces in this area, and what we see on this big overview image is smoke from airstrikes as well as the trails of smoke bombs dropped by the lead B-17s in the formation, with following formations bombing based on these markers. Now if I enable some more high-res stuff, and these were all taken from 29,000 feet, we can actually see in the frame, this is what caught my attention initially, some B-17s flying in formation. And a person could take the time to put these down in sequence and follow some of these formations as well as the photo reconnaissance aircraft. Now, let me see what else I have here. I just put a whole bunch of stuff down. There is so much to look at here, and I'm going to have to readdress this on the 8th. I'm just up against my time limit for the day. But you can see another formation of B-17s at the bottom of the frame. If I enable some more, you can see the effects of a strike that had just preceded this formation of B-17s on this location. This would have been troop concentrations hit in conjunction with that drive to the south by the British and Canadians. And if I enable this one, oh yeah, this is a more high-res look at the B-17 formation. And we can see 12 aircraft here with the lead ship out in front. It looks like a combination of the olive drab and the bare metal markings on these B-17s. And I know that there are at least these two formations visible within this set of photography. There are up to 5 depending on how the timing worked out, I think, where I'm sure that some of what shows up here is the same formation. And if I enable the entire set, and if you're following along, as I'm sure some folks are, looking at imagery on your own as I go here, the set is US 7/2806, and I'll have a direct link in the video description. And yeah, this is just the most interesting set I've found since D-Day. I'm sure there are other examples of operations like this as we've gone, but yeah, this is just so neat. I burnt through all of my time that I had set aside for the day just looking at this. Now if I enable one more photo, and I've got to save some of this for the 8th of August, but this is an example of where we can actually see the flak bursts within these recon photos. Flak has been present in the air in other photos. It's just so rare to see it against a white background like this where you can pick it out. But let me go ahead and move on to the description of activities on the 3rd, and we'll revisit more and more of this stuff as we go. But on this day, 441 Squadron records that an uneventful patrol of the eastern, western, and easy areas was carried out. 442 Squadron, patrol called for 0700 for 12, but postponed, more rain. On 15-minute readiness all morning, Flight Lieutenant Olmsted was welcomed to the squadron this morning. A movie, Silver Skates, was shown at the officers' mess at 10:30 for the benefit of those who had been on night duty. On 60-minute readiness from 1400 hours to 1530 hours, then 15 minutes till 1755, went aloft for an armed recce, which was uneventful, as was a second one at 2155. Flying Officer Caldwell nosed up on takeoff, damaging the prop. The squadron MO, medical officer, Flight Lieutenant Whitelaw, set up a free dispensary in the marquee with eye ointment, aspirin, calomel, and vitamin tablets available and instructions for proper dosage, and that's apparently pilots only, which is totally unfair. And then a short description for number 443. Weather very poor, 10/10 stratus cloud, steady light rain, visibility very poor. 2 missions carried out by the squadron during the day, but rain pretty well washed out all effective flying until late evening. A movie was run in the morning in the officers' mess for all pilots and officers due to the weather conditions, forcing all flying out. They still managed to do 22 hours on the day, and 28 for 442. And probably a little less for number 441. They only carried out one mission. That was a patrol at 0815. But let me step straight into these individual missions. Now 443 makes an attempt to get airborne. This would have been an armed recce mission, 0540 to 615. Weather 10/10 cloud, steady light rain, very poor visibility. 12 aircraft dispatched on armed recce to Caen, Falaise, Argenton, etc. but forced to turn back when overcon due to heavy rain and very poor weather conditions. And that's followed at 8:15 by a patrol by 441 Squadron. Squadron patrol the eastern, western, and easy areas, nothing to report. Then no flying until the evening due to weather, and that's 17:55 armed recce by number 442 Squadron. 1 MET damage south of 30 Hardcore. Nil enemy aircraft opposition, nil flak. 2 tanks seen at Victor 0051 moving south. Clear 4/10 south, 3500, 5600 or 3500 to 5600. East 10/10, 4 to 900. Visibility good. And this is the location I was looking at a little earlier with tanks moving south. It would have been along this road. And in this 8 August photo, we can see just sporadic shelling around the area, some bomb craters. And if I had to choose a place to move around in during the day, this would be it, within the woods. Okay, next up we have 2000 to 2115. It's a patrol by number 443. 11 aircraft of the squadron, plus the wing commander flying, that'd be Johnson, took off on a patrol over the beachhead area and the enemy lines. Cloud over beachhead, but sky perfectly clear further south. During the patrol, the squadron was led as far south as Alençon, no enemy aircraft seen and no flak interference. A tire was blown on takeoff on an aircraft piloted by Flight Lieutenant Prest, and on landing, the flat tire caused the aircraft to swing, and when nearly stopped, to go up on its nose, snapping off one propeller blade. The pilot was uninjured. And then, exactly as this flight was landing, 442 goes up, 2125 to 2230, on another armed recce, and this is going to be listed as uneventful, nil enemy aircraft opposition, flak moderate heavy at Whiskey 1926 and Whiskey 1515, and weather as reported. And in fact, one of the things that drove me to start looking at this imagery up to the northeast in the first place was to try to spot some heavy flak sites, either down here southeast of Caen or right here where it was reported. But the ground was just so obliterated in a lot of these places that you really couldn't tell what was what. But in either case, I'm going to wrap things up here and move on to the morning of the 4th of July. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.